Guys, it's Xander here, and we're back doing brews in Standard. Now this is a really cool one that I've been working on for quite a while now. It's had a couple of variants. I did a green-white one that worked pretty similar, but tried to ramp out for something else. But this is the mono Green Elves. So we'll just run over the deck, and then I'll explain the interactions as I go, and we'll do the sideboard, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the deck. So we'll start off with the 4 of Green Elves, which is for 1 a 1/1, tap add 1. So 1 green. And yeah, the deck's trying to ramp out is insanely fast. It wants to do it as quickly as possible, so we're running as many just mana dorks as we possibly can, as you'll see here. So yes, so definitely on a 4 of this guy. Is the low end of the curve as well. For 2 drops, we're running for 2, 1 and 1 green, a 2/2 Elf Druid, Servant of the Conduit. And then when Servant of the Conduit comes into play, you get 2 energy. And then it has the ability to tap, pay 1 energy to add 1 mana of any mana to your mana pool. So, again, another mana dork. 4 Druid of the Cow, which is for 2, a 1/3. Now, the 3 toughness is actually really relevant because there's a lot of red creatures that aren't 3 power, and a lot of the first strikers that are in the Knights and that are only 2 power unless they get buffed. So, yeah, the 3 toughness is actually really, really important. But he also has the ability to tap in at 1 green as well. Going on to the 3 cost, we've got Rishkar Pima Renegade, which is for 2 and 1 green. Legendary Elf Druid, 2/2. But when you play this guy, you put a +1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Now, that's really good for him because it makes him also able to tap for mana, but he synergizes really well with a couple other creatures that are in here, but you can always just buff up one of your smaller creatures as well, just to spread the toughness across the board. But the big synergy is with the next guy, which is Marwyn the Nurturer, which is for 3, 2 and 1 green, a 1/1 Legendary Elf Druid, and then whenever an elf enters the battlefield under your control, you can put a +1 counter on Marwyn the Nurturer. And its second ability is tap to add 1 green to the amount of power that this guy has. So if you have a Marwyn out and then you play a Rishkar, you can put a +1 counter on it for playing an elf and put a +1 counter on it for playing the Rishkar trigger here. And yeah, this it's so dumb. It just gets ridiculously big in this deck, and it just ramps us for so much. And if you don't want it to ramp, you don't have to use it to tap for mana. You can just swing in with what eventually ends up being a really big creature. To finish off the 3 drops, we're running a 4 of Steel Leaf Champion because we're mono green. We're always going to get the 3 green on turn 3, or more often we're playing this on turn 2. And it's a 5/4 with Steel Leaf Champion, can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Everyone knows this is a great card, and it's definitely staying in this deck. We're running a 4 of Verdurous Gearhulk. It's +1 synergies is the big reason why it's in here, but being able to buff our squad is also very important, and it's a big body with trample, which allows us to get push some more damage through. So this is something we can ramp into again really early, and it all just adds up. So this one's for 3 and 2 green, so a 5 cost for a 4/4. Guy has trample, and then when he enters the battlefield, you distribute 4 +1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. So you can put him anywhere. So this guy with Marwyn is good. This guy with himself is good. This guy with any of the little creatures you want to make bigger is fantastic. This guy also synergizes really well with Walking Ballista. I've explained this card in a couple of deck texts, but I'll do it in this one too. So this is for 2x, a 0/0, but when it enters the battlefield, it has X +1 counters on it. So for every 2 you pay, you get 1 +1 counter. So its first ability is for 4, you put a +1 counter on it, and then its second ability, which you can do at instant speed, is remove the +1 counter from it to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So Walking Ballista is awesome. It's been a staple card in a whole lot of decks. In this, it works really well. It's basically our only key removal piece, which is really important. And yeah, it does a whole lot of work in this deck. And because we ramp so hard, so fast, this thing can get stupidly big. And a lot of people can't answer it can't deal with a Walking Ballista that's got 6-7 counters on it. So this one's a funny addition to the deck. It's Sandworm Convergence, which is for 6 and 2 green. So it's an 8 cost card. But we get there. We get there really early. Don't worry, guys. It's an enchantment, so it's just on the battlefield. And then creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. That's not too relevant in Standard at the moment. There's not a huge amount of flyers. Like if you're versing mono blue flyers, they'd hate you for it. But at the moment, yeah, there's not a huge amount of not a huge amount of flyers. Sorry. But the second ability is the important one, which is at the beginning of your end step, you create a 5/5 green worm creature token. So when we can cheat this out, like 3 turns earlier than it's meant to happen, it adds up really quickly, and they just can't deal with the board presence of just getting an army of 5/5s. So it's a good card, and it's done a whole lot of work for me, and I love it. It's 4. We're running a 3 of Karn Scan of Urza. So this being on an X-Mage, again, I'm not doing a budget. If you don't want to run this card, it would be a really, really budget deck. So Karn's for 4, a 5 loyalty planeswalker. +1 ability is reveal the top 2 cards of your library. An opponent chooses one of them and puts the other into your hand, or puts one into your hand and the other gets exiled with the silver counter on it. Its neg 1 ability is put a card with a silver counter on it from exile into your hand, and its neg 2 ability is create a 0/0 construct, colorless construct with +1+. It gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So there's actually quite a few artifacts in here, so it's not usually going to be too small. So it's kind of relevant, but we're in it for the draw card basically, because we ramp so hard normally anyway. Getting into more draw card is just going to allow us to dump more threats out onto the board. So Karn's just a fantastic card, and it's just stupid that he's colorless, because it allows decks like this to abuse him. So we're definitely going to do it. To finish the deck off, except for the lands, we're also running a 3 of Treasure Map. I love this card. I like it in a lot of decks because it's ramp, it's card filtering, and it's just great. So this one's for 2. It's 1 tap scry 1, so you look at top card, and then you put a landmark counter on the treasure map, and then once it has 3 or more counters, you flip it and you create 3 treasure tokens, and they've all got tap, sacrifice, add 1 mana to your colors, any color you want to your mana pool. So yeah, again, synergy with Karn, synergy with, yeah, it's great. A whole lot of ramp, happens really fast, fixes your draws. It's a wicked card. I love it. Hasep Oasis. I'll just put it up here so we can see it. Tap, add 1 colorless, or tap to pay 1 life and add 1 green. But the last ability is pay 3, tap, sacrifice a desert. Now there's actually 8 deserts in the deck, so it's not that hard to do. And still keep this. And then target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Activate this ability only if you cast a sorcery. So you can only do it in your turn, in one of your main phases. But yeah, this card, it's not bad. It's like +3 on a land is always going to be good. And we've got a couple of tramplers, or we're just going to get through, or just buff your squad or whatever. It's just good. So we're running it as 4 of. We're also running a 4 of Desert of the Indomitable, which is just a cycle land, so it comes in tapped, which is shit. Tap, add 1 green. Again, not fantastic, but it's there for cycling, so it's more card draw if we need it. Other than that, we're running another 4/8/12 green forests, and that is it for the land. Moving on to the sideboard, we are running 4 of Carnage Tyrant. This is for control heavy matchup, or if you're playing up against mono red. I fight Hazoret. It doesn't care because it's a 7/6. Huge toughness, huge power. We ramp it out stupid early. Can't be countered, and it's got hexproof, so a lot of removal can't touch it. Blue-black control hates this card, and we can get them on the board pretty quick. So yeah, you'd probably swap out the Sandworm Convergence maybe for Carnage Tyrants, but you could probably consider doing any combination of the lower curved stuff. Like you still want to curve out and get this guy, but yeah, it's a wicked card, and we're going to run it in a 4 of in the sideboard. We're also running a 3 of Broken Bond because it's just a great card. It's for 2, destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then put a land card from your hand on the battlefield. So it's ramp if we have the land, and it's also destroy artifact or enchantment is quite a large thing in standard at the moment, because there's like History of Benalia, all the sagas, all the useful artifacts. So yeah, it's a good card, and we're going to run it in a 3 of. Again, for the control matchup, we've got Blossoming Defense in a 4 of. Just gives you a creature for 1 at instant speed. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. So this makes any one of our things harder to kill, and again, that's great. For the Graveyard Hate matchups, we are running my favourite, Sentinel Totem. For 1, comes in, you scry 1, you exile Sentinel Totem, and all cards from all graveyards. So, that's wicked. I love it. At a 1 cost, it's great. Crooked Condemnation, which is for 2, 1 tap exile target card from a graveyard, or 1 exile Crooked Condemnation and exile all cards from all graveyards. You could just run a 4 of Sentinel. Not 100% sure why I've put the Crook in there. It was just kind of thrown together with the sideboard. I don't often use the sideboard a whole lot because the deck kind of runs pretty well by itself. But yeah, just let me know in the comments what you think about the deck. If you like it, if you didn't like it, if you think something was cool or something was crap, or if you think the deck's missing something, let me know. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you guys in the next one.